Right now, your phone is somewhere near you, maybe in your pocket, maybe face down on the table, buzzing quietly. You already know exactly where it is. That's not an accident. That's design. But what if for the next 30 days you never checked it again? Not once. The real answer is far stranger than simple willpower or discipline. It's a story about your brain, your ancestors, and a switch inside you that was never built for this. Start with the first hour. You wake up. Your hand reaches for the nightstand before your eyes even open. This is not a habit you chose. It's a loop your brain built for you, one small hit of dopamine at a time. Neuroscientist Dr. Anna Lemke of Stanford University has spent years studying this exact loop. She describes the brain as running on a kind of internal balance scale, tipping between pleasure and pain. Every notification, every red dot, every little vibration tips that scale toward pleasure. Just slightly, just enough. And your brain remembers. Here's the strange part. It's not the content that hooks you. It's the uncertainty. Will there be a message? Will there be a like? You don't know. That not knowing is the trap. Psychologists call this a variable reward schedule. Slot machines use it. So does your phone. NYU professor Dr. Adam Alter, who wrote extensively about behavioral addiction, points out that this exact mechanism is why checking your phone feels so similar to pulling a lever. You're not addicted to your phone. You're addicted to the maybe. Now imagine day one without it. No lever to pull. What happens? For most people, the first symptom isn't sadness. It's restlessness. A phantom itch in your hand. Some people describe it as their pocket feeling too light, like something is missing even when nothing physically changed. This isn't imagined. Your brain built neural pathways around this behavior, the same way it builds pathways around any repeated action. When the behavior stops, those pathways don't disappear. They just go quiet, waiting. Day 2 brings something researchers didn't expect when they first studied phone reduction. Boredom becomes unbearable, not mildly annoying. Unbearable. Standing in line at a store, waiting for a bus, sitting in a waiting room. These moments used to be filled instantly, automatically, without thought. Now they stretch out, uncomfortable and empty. Why does this feel so bad? Because your brain, for nearly all of human history, was never allowed to be idle in the first place. Think about your ancestors. For roughly 200,000 years, humans lived in small groups, constantly scanning their environment. Every rustle in the grass, every shift in the wind, every unfamiliar sound. This wasn't optional entertainment. This was survival. Anthropologists studying hunter-gatherer societies have found that idle moments were rare and often dangerous because an idle brain was a brain not watching for threats. Boredom in that world kept you alive by pushing you to stay alert. Your phone hijacked that ancient alertness system. Every notification feels, to your nervous system, like that rustle in the grass. Something new, something that might matter, something you cannot afford to ignore. Except now, instead of a predator, it's an email. Instead of a threat, it's a meme. The stakes are microscopic, but your brain still responds like the stakes are enormous. By day 5, something shifts. The itch fades, slightly. This is where a landmark study becomes relevant. In 2018, researcher Melissa Hunt and her team at the University of Pennsylvania ran an experiment limiting students to 30 minutes of social media use per day, split across 3 apps. Within just 3 weeks, participants reported significantly lower levels of loneliness and depression compared to those who used their phones as usual. 3 weeks. That's how quickly the brain begins recalibrating once the constant stream of comparison and interruption slows down. But recalibration isn't comfortable. It rarely is. Days 7 through 10 often bring a strange kind of grief. Not for the phone itself, but for the identity built around it. If you've spent years documenting your meals, your outfits, your opinions, your location, a part of your sense of self was outsourced to an audience. Take away the audience and a question surfaces. Who are you when no one is watching? This is uncomfortable. It's also, according to researchers studying self-concept and social media, one of the healthiest questions a person can ask themselves. Dr. Larry Rosen, a psychologist who has studied technology's effects on the mind for decades, has described this period as a kind of withdrawal, not from a substance, but from a mirror. You're not addicted to the phone. You're addicted to being seen. By the second week, your sleep changes. This one is measurable, not just felt. Blue light from screens suppresses melatonin production, delaying your body's natural signal to rest. Remove the phone from your bedtime routine, and your circadian rhythm, the ancient internal clock inherited from millions of years of sunrise and sunset living, begins resetting itself. You fall asleep faster. You wake up less foggy. Your ancestors didn't have this problem because their nights ended when the fire burned low and their days began when the sun rose. Simple, unbroken, undisturbed by a glowing rectangle at 2 a.m. Something else happens around this time, something almost nobody expects. Time begins to feel longer. Not in a bad way, in a rich way. A walk that used to disappear in a blur of scrolling now stretches into full, textured minutes. You notice things. The shape of clouds. The sound of your own footsteps. This isn't magic, it's attention, returning to a mind that finally has room to hold it. Weeks 3 and 4 bring the hardest and most interesting shift of all. Relationships change shape. Conversations that used to be interrupted by a glance at a buzzing screen now run uninterrupted. Silence in a room with another person stops feeling like something to fill. It starts feeling like something to share. Researchers studying phone use during in-person interactions have repeatedly found that the mere presence of a phone on a table, even face down, even switched off, measurably reduces the quality of connection people feel with each other. Just having it there is enough to fracture attention. Removing it entirely does the opposite. By day 30, most people report something they didn't expect to feel. Quiet, not emptiness. Quiet. The nervous system, no longer bracing for the next buzz, the next red dot, the next maybe, begins to settle into something closer to what your ancestors would have recognized as normal. Long stretches of undisturbed attention. Boredom that resolves itself into thought rather than into another scroll. A mind with room in it again. None of this means the phone is evil. It's a tool built by people who understood, brilliantly and sometimes ruthlessly, exactly how your ancient brain works. The variable reward, the social mirror, the fear of missing the next rustle in the grass. These systems were engineered, tested, and refined by extremely smart people whose job was to keep your attention as long as possible. You were never weak for falling into that loop. You were simply human, reacting exactly the way millions of years of evolution designed you to react. So what if you never checked your phone for 30 days? You wouldn't just lose a habit. You'd rediscover a version of your own mind that existed long before notifications existed at all. The same mind your ancestors carried across grasslands and firelit nights, built for attention, for stillness, for real presence with the people in front of you. Right now, your phone is somewhere near you, but for the first time in a long time, you might not need to know exactly where.